Michael, do we have
This
everyone?
meeting is being recorded.
I had to quit.
Everyone who's online with us, please just make sure you're on mute until you need to speak. For everyone that's in the bottom left-hand corner. And Michael, once we know that everyone's here, let us know when to begin.
I got something. I'm pretty sure that.
Manny, I just got some people who walked in, so I'm just gonna explain what's going on, okay?
Okay, sounds good. Just let us know when everyone is here from the board so we can begin.
We're just waiting for Tim. I don't see him yet.
Travel board members.
Again, anyone who's online, please just be sure to hit your mute buttons.
Okay, Manny, we just got Tim joining us in just a second. And then we can get started. Joanna, I have a few folks in the room with me here tonight that are interested in the T. Parker variance. So when it comes to that time and Manny asked for abutters to be heard, I'll pass it off to them and so they can be heard.
Perfect.
Okay, Tim's with us. Just let us know, Michael, when you're ready to begin. Hey, Tim. And for everyone who's online, just be sure to put your microphones on mute, bottom left-hand corner if you're using a computer, so we can hear everybody. We'll give ample time to try to come off of mute and ask any questions. Also, if we do miss, I believe there's some hand raising functions in the application as well as being able to message everyone. All set to call the meeting to order, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, call the meeting to order at 7:07. Like to have a roll call, please.
Want me to do the roll call?
Please, Bob.
Okay. Manny Lenars,
Here.
James Finnegan,
Here.
Jonathan Hayter,
Here.
Timothy Danafelser,
Here.
Michelle Ziemba,
Here.
and Bob here.
Okay, and before we begin, I'm going to read the zoning board of review hearing procedure for everyone. Okay, any person, number one, any person who wishes to speak will sign in with his or her name and address and will be placed under oath. All questions and statements must be addressed to the board. There will be no crosstalk. Number two, once the application is read, the chair will hear from the applicant first. It is the applicant's burden to present evidence supporting his or her request. The presentation must be clear and to the point. Number three, after the applicant has completed his or her presentation, any abutters in favor of the application will have a reasonable time to speak. After all abutters in favor of the application have spoken, any abutters opposed to the application will have reasonable time to speak. After all abutters have spoken, any other interested members of the audience may, at the discretion of the chair, speak for no more than 5 minutes. No person shall speak twice until all interested parties have spoken. Once all testimony is heard, the board will recess in place for discussion. No further testimony will be taken from the floor once the board is in recess. The board will then come out of recess. The chair will accept any motion, and it is the board's procedure that each motion must be in the affirmative. This does not imply an acceptance of the application. 5 active members shall be necessary to conduct a hearing and vote. A vote of 4 to 1 is necessary to carry any motion except an appeal. An appeal requires a vote of 3 to 2. Whether approved or denied, the board's decision will be finalized within 15 days and shall be recorded and filed within 30 working days from the date the decision was rendered. The decision will be mailed to the applicant and the zoning enforcement officer. See Rhode Island General Laws, Section 452461. No building permit can be issued before the decision is finalized and recorded. If your hearing is denied, you have the right to an appeal to Superior Court within 20 days after such decision is recorded. The board reserves the right to postpone a decision until the next regularly scheduled meeting on any hearings. Okay. Bob, could you read our first public hearing snippet?
The notice of public hearing, Town of Foster Zoning Board of Review. Town of Foster Zoning Board of Review will hold a public hearing January 12th, 2022 at 7 p.m. at the Benjamin Eddy Building, 6 South Killenly Road for a substandard lot of record. Property located at AP3 Lot 16D with frontage on T. Parker Road in an agricultural residential AR district. Applicant John B. Hawkins, participants from the requirements of section 38-277A, sewage disposal from the minimum required setback of 100 feet from property lines, and 38-192 dimensional regulations from the required 100-foot rear yard setback. All interested persons are invited to attend public hearing to be heard. Modifications to the proposal may occur as a result of the comments received during the hearing or as a result of further study. The application can be reviewed at Town Hall at 181 Howard Hill Road in the Planning Department during normal business hours by appointment only. The Zoning Board of Review agenda will be posted to https:/opengov.sos.ri.gov/open-meetings at least 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. Individuals requiring interpreter service must by the town clerk at 401-392-9200 at least 72 hours in advance of the hearing date. By your
Okay, thanks, Bob. Before we have Mr. Hawkins sworn in. It is my understanding that has asked for an extension. Is that still the case, Michael?
No, the,
Thank you, Joanna. So for anyone who's here,
All right, Manny, let's just proceed with this.
the final comment then, until we get better clarification. Okay. So, Mr. Hawkins, are you with us? Just be sure to come off of mute, and then we need to have you sworn in.
Yes, how are you?
Good.
Can you
How
please
are
raise
you?
your right hand? Oh, sorry. Let me go ahead and
Okay.
swear. Okay, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Can
I do.
you please state and spell your name for the record?
John Bruce Hawkins, JOHNBRUSEHAWKINS.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins, it is your opportunity to present, your request to the board and share any details that you would like us to take into account.
Sure. All right. John B. Hawkins, buyer, and John F. Hawkins, owner, are requesting a dimensional variance to the rear yard of Plat 3, Lot 16D, which is a lot of record. John F. has a valid purchase and sales agreement for this lot with John B. That agreement is contingent upon this variance. We request that the rear yard setback be no more than 50 feet. Septic system plan and proposed building location should be approved. A favorable variance should be good for any legally permitted building on this lot in the future. The following points to our grounds for this request. Number one, the Plot 3, Lot 16D is a buildable lot of record and is vacant land. Number two, the current rear yard dimensions only allows 21 feet of buildable space. Number three, the buyer's wishes to build his home measuring 28 by 58 as shown on drawing. The buyer also wishes to build the permitted garage at some future date with the variance requirement. A lot has DEM approved active 4-bedroom septic plan. This plan must be completed by next June. We believe these to be just and valid points for approval of this variance with the request of a favorable, and timely decision. Thank you.
Can I just ask you, are you buyer or seller? John B?
Buyer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is the seller on?
Yes,
You're going to hear you.
yes.
John,
We heard you. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, so the board may have some questions for you, Mr. Hawkins. Any of the board would like to go first?
Oh, I guess I'll go first then. It's Jim Finnegan. Mr. Hawkins, the buyer, well, let me ask actually, I can ask either one of the John B or John F. Hawkins. So what's
John Esso will need to be sworn in. I'm sorry, not to interrupt you.
okay? Yeah, this is somewhat unusual in that, so the applicant and we have the owner on, and there's a contingency on the property. So I think it's tied house here, obviously. So do you want to swear in Mr. John F. Hawkins first?
Please, can we do that, Cindy? Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
John F. Hawkins.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Jim, go ahead, ask your question.
So Mr. John F. Hawkins, owner, I went through the materials, and it helped me understand the history of the property. It looks like it's coming from an estate trust, a
Yes.
revocable trust. It also looks like the property is currently just undeveloped land, substandard lot, 1.42 acres approximately. So what's the history of the property with the estate?
The property was purchased in 1959 as part of a larger property purchased by my parents, John and Bertha Hawkins. My mom was the last of those purchasers. When she passed last year, I inherited that lot. I've grown up with that lot. I've lived with it for a number, all since it was purchased by my parents. It came into existence in 1967 when a lot next to it was deeded, and that cut off that lot from the rest of the property. That's as much, what more do you want to know?
Okay, so where is your residence? Where do you physically live?
I physically live on Old Plainfield Pike.
Are you in a butter to this property or near this property?
I'm near it, but not in the butter, no.
Oh, so this is, okay, and Mr. John B. Hawkins, the applicant,
Yes,
where is your residence?
North Kingstown.
Okay. You're looking to build a 4-bedroom house on a 1.42 acre lot, and you're also looking for approval ultimately that could have a garage built with this property. What is the intent of the use of the property? What do you plan on doing with the house once it's built?
Home.
A home for whom?
Myself.
Okay, so the purpose of the transfer of the property to you is to build a home on it for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
And the purpose of the contingency is if this board doesn't approve the variances, you do not plan on acquiring this property from is this your father?
Grandfather.
Grandfather.
Okay.
Well, it wouldn't, yes.
Okay, so understood. So you plan on if we were to approve this, your intent is to build a 4-bedroom property and to move from North Kingston into this residence for yourself.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the questions I have at the moment.
Okay, anyone else on the board have a few questions?
I just have one. Could you please, my question for either one of the two. What is the exact footage from the back of the house to the property line?
The engineered drawing shows that to be 77 feet.
So
The sewage system is 50 feet.
50 feet. So the back of the house to the property line is 70 feet? I thought it was less than that.
77.
77 feet. All right, thank you.
That's shown on the survey plan that you have.
I have another question. Who is the actual one contracting to have this built? Is it, who's actually having the property built? Who's paying the contractor?
John,
I'm sorry.
John B. Hawkins?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a reason why, I'm looking at the variance numbers and the size of the property being built? One of the board's requirements is to look for the least minimal amount to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish when giving a variance. And is there a reason why you're building a 4-bedroom property and requesting the variances? You can't build something smaller that would fit into the variances?
No, not for, no, I wouldn't be able to.
So the goal is to put a 4-bedroom house here. You can't put a 2 or 3-bedroom house here that would fit within the property dimensions without doing a variance with this board. We're looking at the least amount to give a variance. And it sounds like between the garage and the 4 bedrooms and the size of the septic to support a 4-bedroom, you're requesting a variance. Why aren't we building a smaller lot on a smaller house on this size lot, which is already substandard?
his family size his family size needs a 4-bedroom house. Did you hear me? Evidently not.
Yeah, I heard you, Mr. John F. Hawkins. I'm asking the applicant.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I'm just looking at the map. There's just not enough in the front of the property there to stay off the road. You know, it would just be too close to the road. But yes, anything less than that in the position I'm in, it just wouldn't be an ideal spot.
So if this board doesn't approve your variances, what will happen with the property then? You will not build at all, John B. Hawkins? You will not go through with the sale for the land from your grandfather?
I guess that would be to be determined whether or not the purchase, may go through, but I have to go back to the drawing board for everything else.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all the questions I have now.
May I speak? I'd like to say that the lot next to it is a 3/4 acre lot with a 4-bedroom house on it. And that was just recently built. There's also a 1 acre lot a short distance down the road that has a 3 or 4-bedroom house on it. It's not unusual for that size lot. It's 1.5 acres, almost 1.5 acres. And that size house fits very well on it. It would be very similar to the house next door on a 3/4 acre lot. That's all.
Okay, I just have a few questions. And if any of the members of the board just jump in once I'm done. I have just a few questions for John B. Hawkins.
Sure.
At the very beginning, you were asked to provide, you were asked to provide the request and some of the supporting evidence to do so. I may have not captured all of it correctly in my notes quickly, but you were looking for a rear yard, I guess, a request to lower it from 100 to 50. As I see the drawing you provided, and on that note, I'd like to mark all of the drawings in the application as Exhibit 1. I see far more than one request to one variance, more than one variance request. Are you aware that there's, looking at it quickly, there's at least 3?
No, I wasn't aware of a third. The backyard and then the septic variance is, and then I wasn't aware of a third.
Just quickly looking at it, it looks like you have your dwelling from a rear setback is supposed to be 100, and that was one that I heard you mention. Your rear setback from your septic system is another, and your side setback from your septic system is another. Michael, am I reading this correctly?
It's somewhat, yes. The request before the board is for 2 variances. One is from the requirement to be 100 feet from a property line for the OWTS system, the septic. The second variance is from the rear yard lot line. And so what you're seeing is a drawing that shows the dwelling. I think it's approximately 77 feet from that rear lot. And what Mr. Hawkins is explaining that he's asking is, rather than what you would have to grant is something like a 33-foot variance in order to accomplish that 100-foot requirement, he's requesting a 50-foot variance from that 100-foot setback. So he's showing 77, he's asking for 50, but it's only the 2 variances. Does that make sense?
I think so. So the drawing on, I guess it's page 1, it is sort of the one that we're leaning towards. 77 setback for dwelling, the 50 for the rear setback for the septic, and then the 106 off the sideline. Is that correct, Michael? Because I thought I saw like an alternate area that.
106 is
Okay.
is 100 foot for the is the requirement for the side lot yard for the septic system. So that's not asking for a variance.
Okay, I was reading the alternate one. So it's 2. It's the rear setback for the dwelling, and then the rear setback for the OTWS. Is that correct, John B. Hawkins?
Yes, I think the alternative spot for the septic is on the original survey that we sent over. The revised survey has the second survey, the class 1 survey that we sent in has the updated spot.
Yeah, Manny, you should have a plan by Situate Surveyors that there's a date of October 21st, 2021. Both maps were provided as part of the application, so both you have both. But the one that shows the accurate request for the variances is the Situate Surveyors dated October 21, 2001, and yeah, I think you accurately were quoting from that one when you mentioned the 106-foot dimension. That they do not need a variance, obviously, for that side that you're looking at. You are looking, the variance requested would be for that, the dimension that's noted as 50.9 feet from the rear yard. And that's the request for the septic system variance. So that would be a variance of 100 minus 50.9. So something like 49.01 or something like that. Which I think I detailed in the draft motion, so you have the correct distance written for you on the draft motion.
Yeah, perfect. It was the "or" that was throwing me off on that. The last question I have for you, Michael, is what's the requirement for a front setback on OTWS?
It's 100 feet from any lot line.
Okay, and that same drawing is only showing 60.9. So that's a.
So that's the, yeah, so that is the smallest distance, that, or I should say the closest distance of all the distances. So he's asking for that variance, if that makes sense.
So it doesn't have to be detailed as a third variance for a front yard setback?
No, I don't believe so. Joanna, if you disagree, let me know, but that's not my interpretation of it.
Mike, wouldn't the 50-foot that he's requesting, wouldn't that cover the entire septic system from any boundary?
Agreed. That's what I was trying to get at. Thank you. I mean, you can stipulate in the decision if you'd like, the distances to each lot line as a part of that request. You know, if you're more comfortable with that. We would also the decision will be tied to the plan that you have in front of you. So as I talk through it, there's probably no need to detail every dimension and to just provide the I guess the largest request of the 49.01 feet reduction in that dimension.
Okay, so does our just to speed, I guess, my thinking up, is there, do you know what this is in our zoning ordinance? Do you know where it details the setback requirements for OTWS?
Yes, there's a reference within the legal ad. Just give me a moment and I will pull that up.
Okay, I think I have that too pretty quick, right handy.
It is section 38-277 subsection A, sewerage disposal.
Okay, I just read it and it does just call for total distance. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know if any of the board has any other questions. I do have one more for just a comment to John B. Hawkins. You also mentioned, I believe, some type of garage. Just as my understanding, your request today is not including us or any of the approval of this board to approve that future building, correct?
Well, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I just, you brought, during you presenting your evidence on the request for variances, you mentioned another potential outbuilding or extension on the home. That's not in front of us. So I don't know how to, I don't know how to even respond to that comment or understand what your intent was. As I understand it, we're approving two setbacks, not for this future potential structure that you may do at another case. It may have its own setbacks or percent of usable area on your property that may require more variance. We have two requests for variance. Is that understood?
Yeah, yeah.
Manny, but I think the distinction is that I think that he's asking for more room on the rear yard setback than is actually required. Bob knows what I mean. That's actually required for the house. He's saying, give me the house as presented, engineered. Give me an extra, is it 20 feet so that I could put a deck on?
Right. That's correct.
Right.
Okay, I don't know how to deal with hypotheticals in the request. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I typically, and typically when you are requesting a variance, you're requesting it to specifically do something not to, for a potential use. So if the board was inclined, they could grant it for the house as presented with the and when he wanted to build a garage or a deck or whatever it might be, he could provide some engineered plans and request a further, an additional variance for that. That is something that you could consider.
Okay, so the request from the applicant is a 77.7 foot setback, or is it something else?
No, that's correct.
Can I try to explain that, Manny?
I think I know what's being asked. I think if there's an applicant requesting a variance and there's sort of ambiguity of asking us to grant even less than that, I would rather the applicant sort of ask what they need to take into account, because any type of structure that is not on this plan could actually cause another variance to be required that I don't think as a board we need to extend beyond.
Well, I think the concern for the board is that if you are making a finding that this is the least relief necessary and you do not have the specs for that structure in front of you, you don't know if it's the least relief necessary for that kind of additional area.
You got it.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Okay. We discussed, John B. and I discussed that someday in the future, he might like to build a separate garage, and he might consider putting in a pool. And those things should not require another variance. This is the variance situation is a considerable amount of work and effort for you and for us. If he were allowed a 50-foot backyard, and anything he did in front of that backyard within the bounds of the other setbacks would still have to be permitted. It would have to be a permitted use, whether it's a pool or a deck added to the back of his house. Those things shouldn't require another variance situation like this. You know, you don't always consider everything that's in the future, but you should make provisions for future use. And a 50-foot setback for everything is still a reasonable request.
That's where I got confused there. I apologize. Just the 50-foot setback is all we were requesting there. I didn't know I'd like to work within that.
So then I guess my question is, why are we presented then with an either or 50 feet or 23 feet? Why did you request both? Because what you've done now is you can minimally work with 23 feet of relief, but you'd like to have 50 feet of relief.
Originally, we were planning, we needed 50 feet for the septic system. You need 50 feet for the septic system. And we felt that 50 feet for future use, whether it's a deck on the back of the house, or it's maybe a swimming pool, or a separate garage, those were all reasonable things. Number one, they all require a permit. They would all require a permit. And if you wanted to do it, it just doesn't make sense to have to do another variance because you want to put a deck on the house, or another variance because you want to put in a pool.
Mr. Hawkins, my only concern, just as one voice on the board, is I don't know what all those possibilities are, and they may actually trigger other variant requests or setbacks. If I'd rather have each of those looked at least my opinion is, as one of the folks here, is I don't know what they are and I can't guess them all. I don't know the impacts of them all. And it looks like there's a bit of unknown of what John B is going to do with it. I think that we'll take it into account. It's clear what you're asking of us. We'll certainly take into account. Is there any other questions that the board has of the Hawkins?
I do. Just to make it clear, the 50-foot setback that you're requiring specifically is for the sewage disposable ordinances. And the 50-foot relief minimum rear setback of 100 feet and is for specifically for the back side of the house. These are two specifically separate requests for relief.
They're separate because of your system.
Right,
It's
so
your-
the 49.1.01 feet of relief for the septic system is specific to the septic system, not for the entire backyard. The 50-foot relief required minimum for the rear side setback of 100 feet is specifically for the back side of the house.
Yes,
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand here. I can see what you're looking at here. I think that's the confusing thing. It makes it look like they're both combined into one setback, where actually they're two separate setbacks, both each specific to a different structure on the property. One setback is specifically for your septic system, and the other setback is specifically for the backyard of the house. All right, thank you.
yes.
So maybe just one question for you, Joanna. If a 50-foot setback for the dwelling was requested and approved today, is it for the drawings that are attached, or are we saying that this property forever has a 50-foot rear setback?
Well, I think the drawings as attached don't need that setback. So what the applicant is asking for is for you to kind of give them free rein and wiggle room to put something in the back. So yeah, I mean, it is not, typically the variance is requested for something specific or proposed. Because you need to, I mean, as everybody on the board knows, that the requirement is the least relief necessary. And typically that requires showing, I couldn't put the garage in the front, I couldn't put it on the side. This is the best way to formulate it, so it's not, so.
Thank you. Okay, that helps me out a lot. Okay, board, any more questions for the Hawkins? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna, Michael will probably need some help from you in the room. We're gonna ask for any abutters in favor who wish to speak.
Manny, how do you want to, before we get into that, how do you want to manage that? Do you want me to take folks on Zoom first, or do you want to hear from the people I have here in the audience?
I think from the audience first, just so that we can go right back to Zoom after, if that's okay. And we'll do in favor, abutters in favor in the room with you, and then we'll do it to the folks online to give them proper time.
Okay.
Okay, are there any abutters in favor who would like a chance to speak, Michael, in that room? Okay, we'll ask second time, any abutters in favor who would like to speak from physically in the room? And third is any abutters in favor who would like to speak in the room? Okay, so this is for the same question for the folks online with us. Are there any abutters in favor who would like to speak? I'll slow down just to make sure that you come off of mute and you let me know. Second request, are there any abutters in favor?
Oh,
who would like to
Carol
speak?
France, I see one.
Sorry, I raised my hand. I'm used to raising my hand.
Thank you. Okay, so Carol, I believe we have to get you sworn in,
Yes.
so hang on a sec. Cindy?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
My name is Carol Lynn LaFrance. It is CarolLynnLafrance.
Thank you.
Can you tell us your address, please?
I am 3A T Parker Road.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So I'm here tonight to express my support for the Hawkins family in this variance request. I've been living here now a couple of years. My husband and I and family built a home here on T Parker Road. It is my understanding, I've come to know the Hawkins over the years. It is my understanding this has previously been deemed a buildable lot. I am not here, I am not a lawyer, so I don't pretend to be, so I don't want to get into all the specifics of what the law is around this. But I have been in support of the family in this variance. I've been listening tonight so far to the questions that have come up. And one of the things actually that just struck me is that there was mention that it is unknown as to what John B. Hawkins will do with this lot. I think he's made it pretty clear that he wanted to build a home, and correct me if I'm wrong, 28 by 48. I'm not exactly, if I have that incorrect, I apologize. And he is looking for, I understand the minimum, as we use the term, the least relief necessary is the 23 feet. I'm aware of the needs for the septic as well. But I don't think at this point I agree with John F. Hawkins and John B. Hawkins that at this point we can't really discuss what may or may not happen in the future in terms of a pool or a deck or a garage, as we do not have plans to do that at this point in time. And I agree with John F. Hawkins that those would not require an additional variance, but yet a permit. And I'm sure that if anyone were to take a ride around our neighborhood, you would find many folks who are outside of the acceptable setbacks with various outbuildings, et cetera. But that's besides the point. But I just wanted to show my support for the family this evening. Certainly, I mean, I know there's an emotional piece to this as well. As you hear, this lot has been in the family for many, many years and a few generations. And certainly Mr. Hawkins, I don't want to call you senior, but I'll call you John F., wanted to pass down this lot to his family so that he too can grow his family in this area, in this neighborhood where Mr. John F. Hawkins has raised his family. And I think that's very important. And I have a feeling I'm probably the only one that's going to speak in favor of this variance this evening, but I certainly hope that my testimony will carry some weight and that the neighbors will be considerate in this request.
Okay.
I think that's all I have. If I were a lawyer, I'd probably throw some more things out there, but I am not. I apologize.
Okay, thank you very much for your.
You're welcome.
Okay, for any of the other folks online, second request, are there any abutters in favor who would like to speak? Okay, and third and final request for the folks online who are in favor of the applicant to speak. Okay, thank you all. Michael, we're going to move to your room again. So are there any abutters opposed of the application who would like to speak?
Who would like to go first?
Steve Fandetti.
Steve, can
I
you
live
just?
at 2A Thomas Park. I'm gonna stand up.
Yeah, you just come. They can see you.
Again, my name is Steve Fandetti. I live at, well, I don't live yet. I'm building on 2A Thomas Park. I just have some
Hold on.
questions.
Wait, 1 second. I'm sorry, the stenographer is gonna swear you in. She's gonna ask you to raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Stephen Fandetti, STEPHENFANDETTI.
Thank you.
And your
Okay.
address.
2A T Parker.
Thank you.
Okay.
as I said, I'm not actually living in the house yet, still building, but I'm pretty familiar with it, everything around there. I have a question. I'd like to go back and play catch up a little bit about when this lot became, well, how long has it been an actual lot, a buildable lot of record?
Well, is that a question?
Yeah, he
Did
stated
did
it as
sound
a,
like one?
he stated it as a
Well,
question. I
it
would,
didn't, no, I
Oh,
thought you
we
were
missed-
going
we
to
missed
say,
something.
I know, I heard what you said, but I thought he was going to then elaborate on it. The building official has deemed this a substandard lot of record. So,
Substandard lot of record. Okay.
Yes.
And it's always been that way?
1867.
yes,
Okay. When did the 5 acres become in effect? What year was that? Anybody?
I don't have, this is when we need Helen. I don't have the year off the top of my head. Mike, do you know what the exact year is? Was it 75?
I honestly don't know. I think that sounds right to me.
It
It
was
did not.
somewhere, yeah.
I know I think in 1967, it was not in effect. But that is the benchmark that we use, the 1967 date to determine substandard lots of record, because obviously that was when zoning was adopted in
No,
the town.
the 1967 date is what we use to determine grandfathered uses and non-conforming uses. But a
Okay.
substandard lot of record so for lots that were created post 67, but prior to, I believe it's 75, it is whatever the square footage was at that time.
Right. Are you also deeming this lot grandfathered?
I'm not the building official. So the
Oh,
building
I'm just
official has
asking a question.
indicated, well,
I'm
the
just
building
asking a
official has
question.
indicated that it's a substandard lot of record. So that's what
Well,
we're.
you brought up grandfather too. Is it both?
Substandard lots of record, I mean, I suppose you could technically say are grandfathered, but no, that's not, I was talking about a use,
All
not
right.
necessarily.
Is it true that this lot could have been changed in all those years that have gone by? We could have alleviated all this stuff. Right now, I know the land. I saw the water that comes out of the back of that property behind mine. I think you're asking for trouble. The lot is wet, and it's going to be wetter. And if you put in trying to put a 4-bedroom system on a piece of property that barely can take a 2, I am definitely against this. Definitely against this. There's no reason that they're going to have problems. This kid's not going to live in it. He's going to sell it. He's going to move it on to somebody else. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't be having this conversation if he could have found somebody to talk into buying. I don't think you should be considering this. I moved out here for 5 acres. Now we're talking about 2, 2.5, and you want to put 4. I've got a 4-bedroom system on a lot that's nearly perfect. There's no way you're getting a 4-bedroom system comfortably. And when you do it, and you have the problems later on, and you walk behind my neighbor's house and look at the stream that Mr. Hawkins carefully neglected to tell anybody that was there, because there was a first buyer of 9 acres that the pond was on, and that person put a foundation in. Happened to be a nice guy. I liked him and his wife. Their foundation flooded because they didn't know that stream was there. My dogs found it. Underground stream, that all winter long it ran. They loved running down. So I think you're asking for a lot of problems. It's wet. It's going to get wetter. The neighbor that should be here, who I will call when I get back, he's the one that's going to have the problem. You're going to push that water onto his lot, and he's done a lot of work to correct it. And as far as the Hawkins, the woman that wants to look, you like Hawkins, fine. I like people too, but I want honest people. I don't want to be deceived. I was deceived. There was a lot of things on my lot that I was told weren't there. Matter of fact, Whippoorwill Estates, if you look at the subdivision itself, it says that all the asphalt on all the property needs to be removed. Well, so far, I'm the only one that's removed 100% of it. Even his sister Joyce still has a little. And my neighbor on the other side has an awful lot. So I think we should step back a second and think about what we're doing. The road, while I love neighbors, or I can take them or leave them, actually. The power goes out there a lot. That's part of the Hawkins legacy. The campground, they didn't cut anything down, trees on the road, branches. I got his sister telling me she's gonna sue me if I cut down this big ass pine tree.
Can you, okay, so could you just keep your testimony to the actual?
Yeah, this is part of the testimony. So if you want to believe what's gonna happen, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna have a problem with this lot. Period.
Thank you.
I just have.
Okay, Michael, is there-
Hold on,
Mr.
Manny.
Chris, I see that you have your hand raised. We're gonna get it to everybody and we'll come back to you.
Hold on.
I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you. Well, can I just say one quick thing? I'm
Carol,
sorry.
please. Carol, sorry, at the very end of all the people who are opposed will come back if there's needs more time, but please.
yeah, Manny,
you can
I got a few more folks in the room.
Okay,
That's
Michael,
fine.
you just
Respect that.
keep informing and manage having them all sworn in for me, if that's okay, just so I don't interrupt you every time.
So even if you have a
Thank you.
question, please come up and.
I just want who the builder's gonna be, and I missed that part. Are they gonna build, the Hawkins construction gonna build the house?
I just had a question from the audience. He was asking for someone to reiterate a question that was asked as to who will build, who will be the contractor, who will build on the site. I believe the answer to that was John B, but I forget. Can we get a quick answer from?
Yes.
So
Yes, that
John
would
B,
be-
the buyer, is going to be, yeah.
Does he have a construction company?
Hold on, yeah, come, okay. If anybody else would like to come speak, please sit and.
I will. Okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Patricia E. Palmer, Patricia E. Palmer, Palmer.
Thank
And your
you.
address?
116 Old Plainfield Pike, Foster.
Are you in a butter?
Practically.
But were you in the 200-foot radius?
I'm on Old Plainfield Pike.
Did you get a certified green card? Mike, are you considered in a butter that needed notice? No.
She was not in the list of abutters within 200
Thank
feet.
you. I just want to clarify for the record. Thank you.
All right, I am close enough to visually see the property. And we moved to Foster over 20 years ago so that we could have the beauty of Foster. At that time, I was under the assumption, as the other gentleman, that it was 5 acres minimum. And to see the campground, it was a beautiful piece of property. We actually looked at it one time to purchase it. It's a beautiful piece of property, and to have it broken up the way it has been, I find it disturbing. Because again, I moved to Foster and pay good taxes in Foster to have 5 acres. I understand people want to move to the country, but I don't want to see our community, our little area become Cranston. So that everybody's right on top of each other with septic tanks abutting each other. Warwick, a perfect example of what's happened there. I do believe that this should have been addressed when they first, unfortunately, when they decided to close the campground, it should have been addressed at that time. They knew what they could get for acreage out of that, how many lots they could get. We came to one of the variants. It didn't affect much. We agreed to it. But I do believe it's just keeps growing and growing, and it's not exactly what I want my community to be. I know we can't have 5 acres now, but I do believe we can prevent an overcrowding, over septic. Whether it's swimming pools or whatever it is, there are guidelines. I'm expected to abide by them. Everyone else in Foster is. The town has regulations, and that's what I want to see upheld. I may make an enemy of my neighbor, but that is how I feel.
Thank you, Patricia.
If any other butters, the chair will get to non-abutters who wish to speak in opposition. Oh, no, that's fine. That's okay. No worries. And if anybody else would like to speak at that time, and then he'll get to general comments as well, if you'd like to speak at that time. So I think at that moment, at this moment, Manny, we're good with people in the room. Yeah. So, and then we'll move to folks online.
Okay, so for the folks that are online, I don't know if there's more than one. It's very hard to watch who comes, so I'll take my time, walk you through. We'll call out who it is. If there's any abutters opposed to this application who would like to speak online. Okay, I see Matthew and Stephanie Hicks. If you would like Matthew and Stephanie Hicks to come off of mute, and we'd have Cindy swear in.
Are you both testifying or just one?
Do you want to speak too?
I'm probably not gonna speak much.
Just me for now.
Okay, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state and spell your name.
Stephanie Hicks, STEPHANIEHICKS.
Just state your address too, please.
4.5 Parker Road.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I'm sorry, it's 4.5 T Parker Road, Foster.
Okay, so Stephanie, feel free to go. Just for everyone online, please be sure on mute. And Michael, can you go on mute too, if that's possible from your room? It's hard to hear. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Hi. Our land is the land that is going to be affected by the septic. We are directly abutting that property line where that's being requested to go. We are definitely opposed to it for multiple reasons, including if there's a breakdown of the septic, seepage, overflow, anything along those lines that could possibly contaminate our property. We do have farmland. We are registered farmland with Foster. We have livestock on the land, including I board horses that eat off this ground, off this soil, if it should become contaminated for any reason, if there are issues with this system. And then my livestock is sick. There's vet bills that are involved in addition to boarders, horses getting ill and having those vet bills as well. Just in addition to the possibility of contaminating water, when the houses next door started going in on those other lots, we had issues with our well drying up. We had to frack. We were lucky enough to kind of get back in, with our water coming back, but we're concerned there as well with another well going in. That might then again affect our well, causing us to have to frack or possibly this time have to drill a new well. Again, I have livestock on the property, 5 horses that we have to water in addition to, our own household needs. So those are, a few of our concerns, in addition to the lot size, in addition to a house going up directly in front of our home, which will be blocking any views that we have. We'll now be looking directly at the back of this property and whatever's going on in their backyard. And as others have said, this is why we remained in Foster. Residents of Situate lifelong and Foster for, the past 8 or so years when we built our home here on this property that my husband, Matthew, inherited from his family. And so it's just with all of the properties that are going up, all on smaller sized lots, it is really building up And it's concerning to us because that's not why we moved here. It's not why we stay here. And it's certainly not why we pay the amount of taxes that we pay to look at the back of another house and have somebody's septic abutted directly on our property line. The other concern that we have is if we ever decided to sell for reasons that could definitely devalue our property. It may put others off to purchase the land, having to look at another house so close, having to have a septic that close to the property line, possibly causing them, the new buyer, problems down the road. So I think that those are our biggest concerns, with these variances, and even just building on another small lot where it was mentioned before, we have 3 other houses that have been built on an acre, 0.72 of an acre. There are these guidelines and these parameters in place for a reason, and it is to preserve, foster, keep foster rural. And, that's what we're hoping that the board will, fight for us and keep our road a little bit more rural.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Michelle, do you have a question for Stephanie? Is that why your hand's up?
In light of Ms. Hicks' statements, I have a question for the applicants, if that's appropriate.
I think that's fine.
Please.
Good evening. Mr. John B. or Mr. John F. I'm just curious, has this lot that you're applying for the variances for, has this lot been perk tested, or has an engineer designed an OWTS system that would perform on this lot?
Yes, it's been engineered. You have, the town there has the permit, has the drawings for the septic system. It's, there are septic systems within 50 feet of the property line all over town.
Bullshit, buddy.
Excuse me, I'm not sure who said that, but it's not appropriate.
If I can just clarify though, I think that my question for you gentlemen is, do you have any evidence to provide that a septic system will function properly? Do you have the correct drainage, and do you have a pre-engineered system that will perform, considering some of the conditions on this substandard lot of record?
Number one, there's no wetland in this lot. There's no wetlands anywhere near this lot. The septic system was engineered by a professional engineer. It's been approved by the state DEM. We have the permit from the state. We don't have the permit from the town. We're asking for this variance so that we can get the permit from the town and put in a good working system.
Mr. John F. Hawkins, do you have, I'm not sure what it would be, but do you have a wetlands determination?
Yes. Yes.
Was it contained within your application?
You have the DEM permit right there in a copy of it in your folder.
And as I understand, that's for the OTWS, correct?
Yes.
What about the DEM wetlands determination?
Was not required.
What's the details on whether it's required or not?
DEM determines that.
Do you have that document that there was none, or documented that there isn't any?
It's a document within your folder.
Michael,
Manny,
do you know where I could?
Manny, I don't, and I apologize, Mr. Hawkins, I don't have anything specific from DEM regarding a wetlands permit or any sort of alteration permit from DEM. If it's true that there are no wetlands, I don't think you would have anything from DEM, as DEM would only be involved if
If there
obviously
were,
if there were wetlands. So that's where we are. So you don't have anything. If he's alleging there are no wetlands, then there would be no cause to have approvals from DEM for wetlands. Obviously, he stated that he has the OWTS permit from, that's the OWTS that you're holding up, Mr. Hawkins, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's been provided. The board has that. So yeah.
Okay, and then another question is we heard some concerns about water runoff. Michael, how does that get looked at? Is that something that can be asked of the applicant to have that reviewed?
I have to think a bit critically here. We don't have, I mean, there is a local permit that is required if you are disturbing, I believe if it's an acre or greater. I'll have to double check that, but we can work that into a condition of approval that the erosion and sediment control plan is adhered to per the town's local ordinance. That would be reviewed through the building official. If anybody's disturbing a certain amount of land, I think it's an acre. I'm not looking at the ordinance right now, but I think if you disturb an acre or more, you need to have an erosion sediment control plan that is approved through the building official's office. That's something that would obviously control runoff during construction, as you would install silt fence, hay bales, things of that sort. Beyond that, I would say you'd have to provide some sort of link to proving that there would be runoff as generated from this site in a particular direction. And then you would have the ability, I think, to, request like a rain garden or, a catch, what am I trying to say? Not a catch basin, but, when you direct your storm water from your roof into an underground tank, something like that. I mean, that might be good to ask for just in general to control runoff. But those are the things that come to mind.
A cistern?
A cistern of some sort.
Yeah, or a
Mike.
dry well. That's what I'm thinking
Dry
of.
well.
Yeah.
Mike, can I just add something to that? That question about whether there was wetlands or not. If you look at the application from DEM, it does state on there what the water table level is and whether or not there is any wetlands within 200 feet of the site. And if I'm reading it correctly, it says that the water table was 4 feet. Wetlands within 200 feet, it says no. Wetlands determination, no. Test hole was 13, was done on, 1303, okay.
3, yep.
Yep, so.
Right. Thanks,
Doesn't
Bob.
appear to be any water on that lot.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Sorry, Ms. Hicks, are you all set with your testimony? Just don't want to, I know we asked a question in the middle of there. Okay. Is there any folks, specifically with the folks online, are there any abutters opposed to this application that would like a chance to speak?
Yes, I would.
Okay, Mike, we're going to just have you sworn in. So Cindy?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Mike Espy, Mikey, 4 T Parker Road. On the property directly to the right of this vacant lot.
Thank you.
It's been described as a 3/4 acre property that was built. My understanding, I moved into the house 3 years ago. This was the old, I guess, recreation hall for the campground. The house wasn't completely rebuilt from ground up. There's parts of the house that remain from the original recreation hall. So if you want to call it grandfathered in, call it that. Second floor was added onto it to create the two-level house that I currently reside in. I've gone through this process before with my previous home that I lived in. There was a vacant lot behind me. And at the end of the day, I know that somebody's going to build a house on a lot eventually. Whether it conforms or a variance is needed. I hold no grudges against the Hawkins. But like the other people have indicated, one of the reasons I did move to Foster, not only because of the house that I purchased, because it was new, but also because of the wildlife and the land around me. I know it's a substandard lot. And again, at the end of the day, somebody's going to end up building on it. But I just want to put my comments in here. We do get some runoff, especially during the winter months when we do have snow. My property is sloped towards T. Parker from the back, as well as the one next door is sloped. I've spoken with the building department, who is planning on putting a culvert across the street because of the runoff that comes down the road. That water that comes off my property and down the road, and I'm assuming comes off the property next door, again, during the winter time mostly, but during heavy rainstorms during the summer, pools into the road. There's constant issues with water sitting in front of my house. And that's one of the reasons the town is going to be putting a culvert in. But directly across from me, situated next to the cemetery that's across the street as well, all that water drains down into an adjacent neighbor's property, which I believe filters into a pond. So I am concerned with the runoff, not only from my property, but also from the property next door. So that's a concern that should be looked into. As far as the septic system goes, I just had a question with regards to that. Where it's currently located, is there any plans to put any, if this is approved, is there any plans to put any visual barriers? Because this is directly, my deck sits right there. I'm going to be looking at this thing. And is it a septic system like you see where it's railroad ties that are raised off the ground with sand on top, or is it something that's buried in the ground that you don't see? And I guess I'll ask that to Mr. Hawkins.
Yeah, I believe it's a raised, like you described, it's raised. But, you know, I would definitely plant around it, or, you know, whatever, you know, makes anybody happy. You know, we're just looking to, you know, make everybody happy in the area. You know, plantings, some sort of arborvitae, something like that.
Fair enough. Just have one, and I don't know if I can ask a personal question of Mr. John B.
All of the questions should be directed to the board or to the chair, and the chair can then ask them.
Ask that.
Yep.
All right. I guess my question is, I'm curious as to what Mr. Hawkins does for a living. Obviously, we've done our research. I'm just wondering if he's a landscaper, and if so, does he plan on parking landscaping vehicles on this property?
No, I do own a landscaping company. I wouldn't do any dumping or anything there. I operate out of a different location that's not my house now. I would intend on keeping that the way it is now, except for the occasional vehicle I take home. I wouldn't see, you know, I wouldn't expect a fleet of trucks there.
Okay. And I guess my last question, I just curious, because when I got the first notification, or the notification of this hearing, at first I thought it was the property next door, which we're talking about, but I believe it's now referred to as lot AP3, lot 16D. I show it as AP6, lot 39. I know that's semantics, but I don't know if that makes any difference. I don't know when that lot changed, or if there's any concern with that as far as a record goes. I only bring that up because I know Mr. Hawkins, I believe his sister had sent me a letter offering me to buy the property, which unfortunately I couldn't afford at the time. And we're in the position we're at now. But part of what she sent me showed that AP and lot number. So
I'll just comment that of all the town records that I've seen, and obviously it was a part of the advertisements, it's always been referenced in town records as Plat 3, Lot 16D, as you noted. I don't know why, the sister, whoever sent you a letter, why it would have referenced a different lot. That might have been an error on their part.
no, I'm actually holding a plot, basically survey that indicates that.
Okay.
Wait, well, is that a class 1 survey or is it something that somebody drew?
I don't know. I have no idea what it is. She just sent me this. I mean,
Right.
if you want, I don't know if you can see
But
it.
it doesn't have, yeah, it doesn't have like an engineer or a license stamp, right? So,
I don't think I have the whole thing, but anyway, like I said, these are my concerns. I'd love to keep it as a open lot, but at the end of the day, I know somebody's going to build on it, and it is what it is. That's all I have.
thank
I
you.
would, if I could just add one more thing, just about that map that you showed. It's possible, and I'm speculating just because I don't know the what that map's from. A lot of times when subdivisions are created, the surveyor denotes their own lot numbers on the survey that is submitted. And then once everything is taken and incorporated into the town's plats and lots, it is assigned a different number so that it can be contiguous with whatever system we have currently to, so that it makes sense within the plat. So it could have been that it very well, maybe that's the original subdivision and it notes it as a certain number. But when the town accepted it, it was given an assessor's plat and number, which is why we have the Plat 3, Lot 16D. Again, I'm just speculating, but that's what our records have.
I do have one more question with regards to where this septic system is planned to go. I know there's some large pine trees in that area. Are there plans to remove those trees, and how many are planned to be removed?
There's no plans as far as that goes now. I'd like to keep what I can.
Last question I have, if this gets approved, what's the next process and how quickly does, I guess, construction start?
We haven't got that far yet. It's not going to be the speediest process. No dates as of now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Espy. You were referencing the question about the numbering of the lot. I'm understanding then that you believe the sister Hawkins, the same lot was offered for sale to you?
That's
This lot in
correct.
question?
That is correct.
When was that?
July 20th of 2020, last year. I have a letter in hand.
2020.
2020.
This lot that now is going to be, the same lot was offered for sale to you?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it was also offered to the Hicks as well at some point.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Is there any other abutters opposed of this application who are online with us? Any abutters opposed this application online with us? And final call for
Manny, I see some mouths moving, and I just want to remind people, if you do want to speak, unmute yourself and be heard. Go ahead, Manny. Or raise your hand and we'll identify you and unmute you.
Okay, we'll give everybody a minute or so online.
Someone
It says
noted,
Lisa, but it doesn't look like a Lisa. There we go.
Yeah, that's my wife's name. Yeah, so I live, I guess,
Raise your right hand.
do I have to raise my hand and stuff?
Yeah, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state, spell your name for the record.
James Barentine, last name spelled Barrentine.
Address, please.
27 T Parker Road.
Yeah.
So I live down at the very other end of the street. Some of the concerns I have is, I know this was grandfathered in, so, basically what I'm concerned about is there's multiple lots across from me and going down Pierce. So I know this was grandfathered in supposedly, which was well beyond my time, but what kind of door is this going to open up for the opposing lots that could probably pass in the future that's going to affect me?
Substandard lots of record cannot be created right now. So unless it was already on record prior to the 4.59 acre zoning, it's not, but you would have to then look around to see what lots around you are are already grandfathered in, but there's nothing new that's going to be made that's that size.
But say there's I haven't really looked, say there is an abutting lot that is kind of resembles his lot. Now we allow, or something like this passes, and then later down the road, somebody wants to kind of do the same thing and places getting built up that can possibly affect me. Now they can start pointing fingers and going, well, this happened down the street. This happened down the street, so.
Each request for a variance is based on the specific information. There's no precedent. So because if this is granted, no one else can say, well, you gave it to this person. It's based on these specific circumstances for this specific case. It's not like precedent in regular case law. So, but substandard lots are typically buildable. So that could still happen anyways, but it wouldn't be because this was granted.
Anything else, James?
I just wanted on record that, I don't know the people that are buying it or anything, but I would have to agree with a lot of the other people as far as why I wanted to move the Foster is for the space, the privacy, and, the acreage that we all have to abide by, which I understand came after the fact that that lot was grandfathered in, but that's why we moved out here and we pay good taxes for it. So nothing against them because I don't know them, but that just stating my case, that's all.
Okay, is that it, James?
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to give just a few extra minutes because I don't know if there's anyone else online.
I think the Hicks were waving. Did they want to speak again?
there was also somebody else waving their hand.
Yes, it says Galaxy. I'll ask to unmute.
And then I saw somebody, I think it was
Dottie.
Dottie, yeah.
All right, so I'm not sure who the Galaxy is. Sir?
It would be Joseph Malowin.
All right, we're gonna have you sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Please state and spell your name.
Joseph, Joseph. Malowin, Malouin.
And please state your address.
18 Pierce Road, Foster, Rhode Island. The corner of Pierce Road and T. Parker.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I kind of agree with James said and what Ms. Palmer said about keeping Foster rural. I bought my property from the Hicks in 2002. It's approximately 30 acres. I bought it to be in the woods. Since then, there's maybe 15 to 17 houses that have been put around here. There's gonna be 5 to 7 more across from me by Michael Bonds. And I don't think we need another house, especially one that's gonna sit on the road. It's not rural like Foster is supposed to be. Those words, keep Foster rural, is slowly deteriorating.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Joseph.
Thank you.
All right, all right, we're gonna unmute Dottie, but I think the name might be, I think it might be somebody other than Dottie.
You raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
My name's Ronald Nagel, RONALDNAGEL. I own the property at 114 Old Plainfield Pike. I live on the other side of the 8.5 acres that Mr. Hawkins let someone put a house in. I watched the previous owner do a foundation and it became a swimming pool, and he packed up and sold it and left. And I see the water that runs through that property, and the water, if it's going to get mixed with a septic, it bothers me about my well. Everything around here is based on wells. And I have one question. The town has a 300-foot setback for a house. Is there going to be a 300-foot setback from the road for this house, or is this house going to be right on the road?
I believe it's 35 feet.
That's correct.
From the road?
Correct.
Well, there's another thing that goes against town ordinances. Right there, we have a 300-foot minimum where you can put a house. So I'm sitting here with my wife, Dot and Ron Nagel. We're both opposed to allowing a lot that small to be built. I understand it was zoned before. I have no problem if they can meet all zoning requirements. If he builds a smaller house where the septic's going to be staying within his land and not overflowing, that 8.5 acre piece where they just bought a house, that's like a river coming through there. In the wet part of the year, I've been here almost 5 years, it's like a river through there. So I don't know how you're going to fit another house in that small of an area and not affect the water table in the area and the wells in the area. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I see there's a few more people online. I'm not sure. Sorry, Stephanie, I saw you wave again. Just make sure everyone speaks first and we'll come back to you.
Actually,
So is there?
I'm sorry, we have a couple of folks here that also wanted to speak. They're not abutters, but they're here with us.
Sorry, did you say they are abutters?
They're not.
They're not abutters, but they are residents.
We're neighbors.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there right after abutters.
Got it.
It'll be the third. No problem. Sorry, just anyone else online who is opposed to this application who would like to speak for abutters? Is there any folks any abutters online that are opposed to this application that would like a chance to speak? Okay, hearing and seeing none, final call for folks online, abutters online that would like a chance to speak who are opposed. Okay, we'll move Michael to your room first for any interested parties who would like to speak.
Anybody else who would like to comment, please? Yeah, we got to take her. Hold on.
Michael.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Joshua Hicks, JOSHUAHICKS.
You state your address.
15 T Parker Road.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I have some questions just because it's not clear to me, and I do apologize if I missed it at some point, so please forgive me for that.
But what are the actual setback rules in Foster for a septic system today?
100 feet.
It's 100 feet, okay. And this septic system, the proposed septic system is
About
50,
50
about
feet.
50.9, okay, thank you. Next question. Someone mentioned that I didn't know this, someone mentioned that the water table on this lot is 4 feet. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, that means that the water, if you dig a hole, is 4 feet down? Is that year round, or is that, or it doesn't matter? If at any point in the year it's 4 feet, then is that the high water mark, so to speak?
When it was tested, it was at 4 feet.
And when was it tested?
Look up the date for you.
Supposed to be tested in the spring when the water table is the highest.
Okay, so
It's supposed to be.
Very high water table, presumably. Okay, I'm not a builder, but so please forgive me again. But how do you put in a foundation with a 4-foot water table? And not have a pond, and not have a pond. I'm really asking, like, can it be done? Are there ways to do? Are there safe and proper ways to do that sort of thing, or should it not be done?
I'm not a builder either. I'm not sure if there's anyone qualified to answer that. I don't know if there's anyone from the board, or if the Hicks wanna. If the Hawkins would like to reply, comment.
Can I reply to that?
Yes, sir.
In the area of Foster, 4 feet is considered a standard, and it's not the actual water table. It's a standard number that's used when the water table is over. The test hole was 13 feet dry. 13 feet dry. And that was when the septic system test was done. 13 feet dry. 4 feet is a standard that's used because it's located within the Situate watershed.
He's correct in that, yes.
Okay. Well, that's good, because again, I don't know how you put in a house with a 4-foot water table. Next question. And again, this wasn't clear to me. I wasn't very close to the subdivision that happened recently with the old campground and everything. But I just have to ask. So this property that we're talking about, it's 1.4 something acres, and then there was all the campground land around it. How come it wasn't joined to land, other campground land, and sold as a bigger lot? What was the reason for that?
It's not necessarily a relevant question for the applicant.
Well, yes, it is, because again, I feel like we're in the situation because it was not.
That lot was actually created.
I mean, the bottom line is that the lot is a substandard lot of record. So that is not an issue here.
Right, but so what I'm saying was that the subdivision that happened a few years back, whenever it was, it seemed like that would have been an opportune time to rectify that. Would it not have been?
You don't have to, you can't force somebody to rectify it. That property was owned prior to zoning, and you can't force them to devalue it by adding it to another piece of property. If that property had been owned by the same owner as the property that was subdivided, it would have been, you can't have two owners of a budding property that are the same. It would have been merged. So
Okay,
that property was not owned.
That's the answer then. So there was separate owners.
Yes.
There was separate owners.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then I'm just asking because I don't know. So at any one time, was the land owned by one person or never?
I mean, again, it's not, for purposes of the board's decision tonight, that is not relevant. At least since 1960 something, it has been owned by, or this chain of title has gone through different people, but not people who have abutting properties.
Okay, very good. And finally, I just want to say, you know, this is kind of just a shared concern that I think Stephanie brought up. You know, just the concern about water, and I don't mean having too much water on the property. I mean potentially not having enough. So, you know, she did mention with everybody out there having a well. I don't, you know, I'm not a underground geologist or anything, but I do know that the aquifer out there is shared by a lot of people on the road. You know, and again, I can't speak for what it actually looks like because I can't see it myself, but I do know that when my new neighbors moved in and were overwatering their lawn, we both lost water. So it does happen. Now, I mean, it did come back, fortunately, for the both of us. But, you know, the more houses that are out there tapping the aquifer, combined, it could be a real problem because, you know, it might be, you know, an inconvenience if one house loses water, but it's a serious problem if you have multiple houses where there's just not enough water to sustain them. And that's not a question that we're going to be able to answer here tonight, unfortunately, if ever. But it is a real concern because, again, we don't have city water. So when the water stops coming out of your tap, then you're out of water and you're out of luck. You have to hope it comes back, or, you know, now we're looking at maybe fracking, multiple people fracking. So I just want that to be stated because, again, the natural resources are not infinite. You know, what's there is there, and it has to be carefully managed. And I just hope that, you know, as we're, you know, to Joe's point, you know, there's a lot of homes going in, and water is not that great in that area. I mean, I went down 500 feet and I got 1.5 gallons a minute. That was it. So, you know, and other people on the road, you know, they share that. You know, my other neighbors, they went down 400 and it was completely dry, and they fracked and they got like 0.5 gallon a minute. So water is well water is not that great in that area. So just be aware that the more homes that go in, that could become a real problem moving forward. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Manny, Michelle has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Michelle.
If it's appropriate, I would like to ask the applicant and the current property owner just a couple of questions, a little more information about their OWTS approval that, you know, came from DEM.
Go ahead.
Mr. John F., I'm just curious, you and the applicant have a approval in hand. Do you know what year, you know, you had this substandard lot of record tested and what year it was approved?
The latest approval is 5/26/21.
Yes, and was that approval based on current testing, or was that approval based on older testing?
Well, that is the original testing and engineering was done in 2013.
So that's about 9 years ago, sir?
Yes.
So I do see a note here in the historical information for the OWTS permitting that somebody applied for a transfer of the application from 2013 to your current approval today. Did you apply for that, or was it Mr. John B?
I applied for that when my mom died. This was, the original was done by my mother and father.
I understand.
They both deceased, and this lot was deeded to me, or became mine. when
Did the Department of Environmental Management require you to update any like perk testing or anything? Or was it a matter of applying, paying a fee and having it transferred?
It was a matter of transfer.
Okay,
The test was still up to date. Everything was still up to date. And I transferred it, ownership of the property.
okay, so I just wanted to just clarify for my own consideration that there was no actual new testing done with perking or water flow on your property since the original 2013 approval. And they transferred that application, they transferred that approval to a 2021 application and put a start of construction date on it as 06/16/2021.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else, Michael, in the room, interested parties that would like to speak?
Yes, I have somebody else with a question. You come forward.
Sorry, I hate to beat a dead horse.
I need you to state your name again.
I'm already sworn in.
Yeah, he's already sworn in.
Yeah, but I need to state his name, so.
Sorry, Joshua Hicks.
Thank you.
I feel like I just missed something again. Apologies. So it sounds like there was a recent transfer of a deed. Is that correct? And Mr. Hawkins just said it went from his mother. It was deeded to his mother, and then it was deeded over to him. Is that correct?
Yes, when his parents passed away, ultimately he ended up the owner.
Okay, but his parents also owned the campground land, correct?
The property, I believe, is owned in a trust or some other type of holding. It was not the same taxable owner, so the lots were not merged.
Okay, all right. So but the same person owned all the land. Just one ownership was under a trust, and the other ownership was under a personal ownership.
I mean, I don't have a title search, but that is really not relevant to the application at hand.
Okay. Okay. I respectfully disagree. Thank you.
Michael, is there anyone else in the room of interested parties that would like a chance to speak?
I believe that is it.
Okay, thank you. So any interested parties online that would like a chance to speak?
I think the people at
Okay,
the Hicks house who have not spoken yet, right? There were two people?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna unmute. I asked you guys to unmute. Did you get it? There we go.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state and spell your name for the record.
Susan, Susan Hauser, Hauser.
Your address, please.
I own 129 Old Plainfield Pike and 60 Isthmus Road and 124 Old Plainfield Pike.
Thank you.
I would just like to add my opposition to putting a big house on a very small lot. I agree with other people. This is rural. We have 3 pieces of property. They are all 5 acres or greater per the town regs. I just think that the concerns that people the big concern that people seem to be raising is the water supply. And I would not like to see anything happen. And it appears as though the DEM really hasn't looked at it since before all of the housings went in, all of the new housing went in. And I just really would oppose having another postage stamp house on a postage stamp lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there somebody else there too?
I'm her son, Philip Hauser.
Wait, let's swear you in.
Yeah.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you
I
God?
do.
State your
Yes.
the record.
Philip Hauser, PHILIPHAUSER,
Thank you. Your address?
129 Old Plainfield Pike.
Thank you.
And just as far as I'm concerned, I know I'm young in this ball game, but as far as back as I can remember, I know that you had to have 5 acres in Foster in order to build. So that's where I stand. I'm opposed to there being like my mother said, a great big house on a small piece of land that is not big enough for town requirements. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
you very
you.
much. Anyone else online, interested parties who'd like a chance to speak? I see your hand, James, raising. We're just gonna try to get everyone.
Yeah, anybody who hasn't talked yet. Martin Durst, I don't think.
You're muted. Can you
Can you
raise
hear
your
me
right
now?
hand? Yes.
Yeah.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Name's Martin Durst, MartinDurst. I reside at 6 T Parker Road. I just really quick wanted to put my 2 cents in. I moved out here in 2011, and like many people have said, we're out here because it's rural. And I understand times change and, the lot was divided, but a variance was already granted on the lot directly next door to it. And I understand that was an existing structure. I was at the meeting. I had no problem with that. This is an empty lot, and we want yet another variance to stick a house directly next to that one. I'm opposed to it. And as Mr. Hicks also stated, we're speaking of the aquifer. I'm at the top of a hill. Everybody in the neighborhood knows that this area is dry. The majority of the wells are down 500 feet. Some are probably a little less. For some odd reason, I'm only down 150. And I would like to keep it that way. If I don't have to drill any further, that would be great. As I said, I'm opposed to it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other interested parties online who would like an opportunity to speak? Okay, I don't hear or see any. Admittedly, it's hard, so if I'm missing you, please just come off of mute. Okay, so we'll give a few opportunities. I think a few people have raised their hand to speak again. I think, according to my notes, Carol, you raised your hand. Stephanie, you may have, and James, you have, but I don't know if there's any other folks in the room. So we'll give everybody a minute or so to speak. We'll do it in that order if it's okay, Carol.
I thank you for the time again. I just wanted to clarify something back that was said, I'm going to say about 45 minutes or so ago, and it was about the water level on that lot. I think that Mr. Fandetti was actually in error when he was referring to the lot. I want to make sure that we're talking about the same lot here, because my lot actually is closer to this lot than his, and we do not have a water issue that I am aware of. It is not a wetland. So I just want to make that clear that we're talking about the same lot here, because I know there was some question, Mr. Espy did bring it up in his points about the question about what the lot was labeled. So I want to make sure we're talking about the same lot, because it's my understanding it is not wetlands. And again, my property does abut this property and it is not a wetland. So I just wanted to make that clear as we look towards making this decision. Thank you. That's all I needed to say.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Stephanie, I don't know if you were waving your hand for the two guests in your room or if you need to speak again.
No, sorry, just hand motions.
No,
Yeah,
no worries.
Manny, I don't know if the gentleman who signed in under the Galaxy has had an opportunity to speak, but I see that he's been waving his hand.
Okay, he has spoken, but
sorry.
I just had one quick question.
Just state your name again, please.
Joseph Malouin, Malouin. My question was, that old wastewater perk test is like 10 or 12 years old. With the current development that's been around that area, there's a real good possibility that the water table has risen considerably. And I think that should be revisited.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
And
James,
Manny, I have Mr. Fandetti, who was mentioned, wants to respond. Do you want to take his comments or do you want to move on from there?
No, it's okay. I'll take the comment.
Okay. Please.
Actually, I'm not mistaken. I know exactly what lot I'm talking about. If my neighbor were to walk down to the back of her property line at where the corners meet and they meet the other neighbor, she will see that there has been carefully water retainage to hold that stream back. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And if she doesn't know, or the committee doesn't know, that Whippoorwill Estates, and it should be on record, I have a drawing, it's a watershed area. That's one of the reasons there's no asphalt supposed to be there. So do your homework. I don't think the lot is built.
Thank you. I think Mr. Barentine wanted to speak again, right? He had his hand.
Yes, James Barentine for the record. The only other thing I just wanted to add in, just to make sure all the neighbors up and down the streets, they've been talking about it, and that the board knows. I have firsthand witness the wells being affected. I've had to help my father-in-law. We've had to frack his well at least twice, the neighbor to him, and he's at 19 T Parker Road. So there is definitely a water issue as far as well water goes, being scarce, and the more houses go in, it's definitely going to affect that. So that is definitely going to happen.
Yeah. Thank you, James. Okay. So is there, whether it's inside the room or online, is there any other interested parties that would like a chance to speak? And final call for any interested parties who would like a chance to speak. Okay. Hearing none, before we move into recess, I don't know if the board has any further questions for our applicant.
Manny, I have one more question, final question. It was mentioned the current condition of the property, and this is for the applicant, John Hawkins, there was a mention about certain pine trees on the property, but how much tree cutting, clearing of the property needs to be done? Is it open field now? Is it all fully developed with trees? Is there gonna have to be clearing done to build this, basically the house?
So there are only a handful of trees on the property that are old. It was to my knowledge that probably 2013-ish. It was clear cut, and what's there now is just growth from the last over 10 years, 10 to 15 years.
So here, so a follow-up question to that, because 2013 seems to keep coming up. 2013, it seems that's when the OWTS, the application was submitted, there was testing done. It was clear cut in 2013. And then the land is sat now for the last, 8 years. Why wasn't the property developed in 2013?
I couldn't really speak to that. I just actually, I am not the Hicks, the Hicks, I guess, were off at the property, anybody in the area, really. It was on the market for a while. I just came into this situation back in, earlier in the year, so it wasn't an option for me up until then.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other board members with questions before we move to recess? I have one more for you, John B. Hawkins, is the part of, as you know, we as I sort of outlined in the hearing procedure, we go through a series of questions to understand how we make our decision based on the request, and it always comes back to the least relief necessary. So you've heard a lot. You've heard a lot today from the neighbors of this property, and my question is just very direct: is your request for the setbacks the least relief necessary?
Yeah, I'm not looking to ruffle any feathers or anything like that. I don't think it's as far as the variance goes, that's for me to live on that property. I'd need it off the road a little bit, and that's what I'm asking for here. But these things, that variance would be my deciding factor. Yeah, again, it's only the back of the septic. We got plenty of room on the right side. It's just that back corner, and it's not the line of the back of the house. It's just the backyard behind the house. Not asking to put a shed there or anything like that. Just trying to work within that the 50 feet there. It would be the path of least.
Okay, and again, just again, rough order of magnitude. It looks like there's 12 additional feet you could pull the house forward, and still not encroach the 35-foot line. Has that been considered?
Yeah, I got 2 young kids. It's pretty close to the road as it is. It wouldn't be a spot for me.
And that 12 feet is what makes your children safe on this property versus a property elsewhere?
Well, it's just not. It's just too. I'm sorry. What? It was just. Yeah, too close to the road for me.
Okay. If the board has no further questions, I'm going to move to recess. Okay.
Cindy, do you need a break?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Why don't we take like 10 minutes, just give Cindy a little break. We've been going quick, or for a long time.
Okay. We'll see what time it is. It's already past my bedtime.
Yeah, it's 9:07, so 9:17 we'll resume.
Okay, Thank you.
They're not gonna make that decision. This is over.
But they won't like this. Patty, you're blonde? I'm looking, I'm like, wait, who's that? Wait, you're muted.
Yeah, it's called COVID head, Joanne. I went so long without coloring my hair that it all faded out, so I left it.
It looks nice.
Thank you.
How's everything?
Good.
Are you enjoying retired life?
When I can, because you know I still have to go in every so often because they really don't have anybody to fill my position. So
So not so retired.
no, not totally. Every day I gotta say, do I have to go in? I told Kelly I wasn't coming in this week. Too many people are out.
I know.
I came back from Florida with it again. I had it twice.
Oh. Well, that's fly. I mean,
oh, I got it from my niece.
Oh, is she all right? Everything all right?
Yeah, she was vaccinated, but she got really sick. Her and her husband. And I slept in her house at Christmas, so I got it too, but it felt more like a sinus infection.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It wasn't too bad, but I was like, oh, really? Vaccine's working great.
Right, exactly.
Really good vaccine. How are your holidays? Good?
They were all right.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
You taking my spot?
I'm taking your spot, yeah. It's a long meeting.
Yeah.
Very.
I was wondering why Mike, I peeked around the corner before I saw Mike with a mask and I'm thinking, why has he got a mask on? He's home. But he just told me, no, he's not.
No, Mike is at the building.
Poor thing. Oh my God.
Yep. Stuck there.
Well, I think our next one, Mike, they're not here, right? The next one?
It's Mike.
Were you asking me something?
Yeah, the next one is gonna get continued, right?
Yes.
Hi, Mike.
Hey, Patty.
How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Okay, I was trying to figure out why you had a mask on. I peeked around the corner before and I'm thinking, why has Mike got a mask on? He's home. And you just told me he's not.
Hey, Patty, how are you?
Good, how are you, Manny?
Good. All right, so we're going to restart if everyone's okay.
Okay, he's right here. Bye.
Bye, Patty.
We're gonna get started again.
I think this.
Get back on now. Oh, I got it.
Okay. So we are in recess and
Yeah, but wait a minute.
we need a few folks to go on mute, or at least Michael.
I'm
Thank you,
muting
Michael.
people. I'm doing it as we go, and I'm gonna unmute our board members.
Thank you, Joanna. So to the board, I don't know if there's any discussion or further questions. I've actually thought of a few questions, having a minute to actually just stretch my legs and stuff. I have a few more questions, but I don't know if there's any questions or discussion we have amongst ourselves first.
I'm trying to figure out what the exact relief, the minimum relief would be on this. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and Bob, I'm on the same vein. Looking at the design, if the septic was actually rotated to parallel of the property, I wonder how much setback that would increase front and back, and then it could slide over to maintain the 100. And I heard the discussion of the 12 feet, but 12 feet, pulling the house forward 12 feet gets that rare setback at almost 90 feet. Really close to that 100, and really adhering to as much the least amount of variances. So I'm just going to ask one question, just to John B. Hawkins, if possible. John, have you thought about rotating that septic system and trying to just maximize all those setbacks to the best of your ability?
No, so this is the proposed approved septic system that was presented to me, you know, when this opportunity came.
Okay, all right, thank you. So to the board, there might be an opportunity to have that researched on why it couldn't be turned and why it couldn't be slid over to maximize those setbacks and give a little bit of time back to the applicant, just as one thought. Anything else from the board?
The Mr. John F. Hawkins, you said that the perk was done in 2013.
Yes.
I looked up some research and it says that the perks are only valid for 2 to 5 years. So it would seem that it would need to be re-perked to get a design.
That has been redone. That rule has been extended for, I don't know the reason, but that's the reason. It's been extended and extended and extended by DEM.
Oh.
You have in the folder you have along with the DEM permits, you can see the so many papers here. I have a hard time finding them.
Okay, thank you. Any more thoughts to the board? And the other thing too is, you know, being so close to getting to the variances, you know, even a slightly smaller footprint in the house gets even closer to being able to. And we're not talking a lot, right? You know, a few more feet still maintains a pretty good footprint. You know, even if it goes wider. To get the total footprint, if that's the goal, you know.
The thing of it is,
Mr. Hawkins, please, the board's having a discussion. We'll, if you have a question, just raise your hand or a comment. We'll come after you. We're just having a quick discussion.
Well, Manny, I guess your comments are leaning to the fact of trying to do the least amount of relief necessary. I'm giving a lot of weight to the abutters and the effect on the characteristics of the community, the comments regarding water, the comments regarding wells. There is no question that this substandard lot can be built upon. There is no question that a house can be put on that within the requirements of the setbacks. The issue at hand is to put a house on this lot that exceeds the permitted required setbacks, and there's significant opposition to this even being developed as property. And I think that bears a lot of weight where we have so many abutters opposed to this and the effect it's going to have on that micro community there. So I'm not even to the point of considering the least effect. I also have some concerns regarding the fact of this property being constantly offered up until 18 months ago for sale. And then recently, all of a sudden, it's not going to be built by a family member. Putting that aside, I think the abutters, the weight of that community should be significant. And I don't see how I can sign off on the 5 standards because I believe I would disagree with a couple of them regarding the evidence I've heard tonight.
Yeah, I can't say that I disagree in your train of thought. I'm trying to take the steps in my head of least relief necessary and then work up to where you are. So I'm probably coming from it from just the opposite direction.
Understood.
But because it is a lot of substandard record, I think that a house can be built on here. I'm just trying to figure out do we even have to give relief? And I'm already minimized it in my mind to 10 feet so far on the back setback versus 50. And any thought of rotation gets us really, really close. And I believe DEM setbacks requirements are 50 feet. So I'm just trying to do that in my head. But Jim, I'm in line.
I'm just worried about this from a community standpoint. There was some very good comments about, especially with regard to the community plan. I mean, we do have the substandard lot grandfathering it in, whether we call it that, but that's all there. There's no question that a house can be built on this lot. But what I'm hearing from this community there, especially the abutters, is they don't want it developed, and therefore the board should not grant a variance. The applicant has every right to develop the property within the requirements. And that's where I'm leaning on this. I cannot see myself signing off on the five required standards on this approval here myself.
I have to agree. I just cannot, in my mind, I just cannot look at this building, this house, and figure out any other way that it could fit on this property within the standards that are established. It is a buildable lot, but that we know. The septic design is very modern and very new. However, none of it fits within the confines of our standards, and it's way off.
Yeah, I think this is a bridge too far for this board, and with the significant abutter opposition. I think we need to follow what the what we can't sign off and agree that we just can't give. I can't give this 5 agrees to in the 5 standards. It's just not going to happen for me. So I'm just not there.
Hey, Jim, I just want to take a question from Michael quick, or a statement.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is the board considering that in regard to both the variances requested? I remember there's 2 variances that are separate and distinct. There's the septic variance as well as the rear yard setback variance for the home. So I just want to make sure we're clear. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, Michael, I was going to go there next, because I'd like the board to maybe get creative so we can create a motion in the affirmative to actually offer back, when we come out of recess, even if we collectively think it should be at the setbacks per our ordinances. But with that, to Michael's point, and where I was headed next, was if we take them separately as the rear setback and separately of the rear setback for the septic system, can we discuss one at a time? Maybe the discussion on the septic system first.
I still have an issue with the septic system. I'm looking at this, and if the location of the septic system, and if there's any issue with that location when they go to put it in, the alternate location is going to need it. They'll have to come back and get another setback for it, because it would be off.
Yeah. And I understand that, Bob, and I think that's part of the process. If it's set, and it has to be re-asked or come back to the board. But I just, I don't know enough about septic design other than from the engineering, the engineering side of it a bit, but I don't understand why it's not rotated, or why it can't be rotated to attempt to get the largest release or non-request for variance. I think that's at least something that we should take into account, or ask the applicant to go back and do that research and come back to why it can't be done.
Well, again, I'm just not even there with discussing that variance at all, because I'm in the same mindset as some of these speakers, that the perk testing was done in 2013. There has been development done there on abutting properties It's the area's been developed. I can't even consider in a variance affirming any because I don't believe the underlying testing should have been renewed.
Okay,
I believe
I
it's too
will,
old.
you need to understand that if DM has granted it, you need expert testimony to challenge their grant. So if you are going to deny it based on that, that is not going to win at an appeal.
No.
And that is dangerous ground. So I will tell you that if DM has granted it, unless there is some expert testimony to indicate why DM was not correct, that you could rely on, we, you know.
Well, again, I'm taking the totality of the questions about that, and let's go with the DEM it being correct. Then we have an issue with permitting the variance with it so close to an abutter who opposes it, especially an abutter that has a farm that has some serious concerns about the water flow on that property, having a septic there that could be potentially problematic.
I think we should focus a little bit on the facts of engineers have put this plan in place. I think there's a bit of it that could be challenged about where, the location of it, why it couldn't be turned. But I don't know how we could. The testimony was thoughtful. It was impactful, but I don't actually know these impacts. I don't have any expertise there. So at least within our purview of interpreting our ordinances and then making decisions based on those, my mind, Jim, sorry, goes right to the minimum relief necessary, because this is a substandard lot that is apparently buildable, and we should try to do our best to get it to be buildable with the least relief necessary. That's just my thought process. Instead of trying to figure out whether DEM was right or wrong, or if it's going to impact something, I don't know that, and I don't know that we could get there quick enough. I think that we should try, in my opinion, to focus on the request and see if we could get there, and maybe constructively go down that path.
Yeah, I think.
And Jim,
I can see why the septic is sitting the way it's sitting. Obviously, it's on a grade, and it's a substantial grade. It's a 2-foot drop on one side of it, and then it drops off a lot more after that. That's a substantial grade, so that's probably why it's at an angle. But the house itself, I still have issues with the setbacks.
and Bob, with the setback, just again, trying to constructively get through this, if it pulled up 12 feet, it gets that 77 at 89.7 or 89 feet 7 inches. I think that's the reference there. And again, it's the request is for 28-foot home. We could even, again, I wouldn't touch or describe the house size, but there's probably room to get that 89 to 90, 91, 92 with ease.
Yeah. I think moving the house forward, and it's a big house. 58 feet is pretty good size.
It doesn't
Okay.
seem.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michelle. I didn't realize it was you. I couldn't see who was talking.
Sorry. It doesn't seem very clear to me that the actual applicant, John B., has really dug into this any more than what the seller, his grandfather, has pretty much kind of handed him. So, based on, how he answered the questions, and so much time has lapsed and passed, and it doesn't seem like any creativity has even, they themselves haven't even thought about how else they could modify or manipulate their proposal to help them achieve the variance they seek. And, the applicant says that, he just won't buy it if he can't get the variance. And, the frontage of the distance to the road is any closer to the road, and it's not going to be the place for him. So on top of other reasons, the least relief question with the septic. I mean, we would be granting a variance on a septic that has very old testing, and whether or not DEM is letting things fly, and we are a board to decide should we give a variance or not. So,
And
for me, these things kind of have to.
Yeah, Michelle, that very well said, because I also in addition to that, I truly believe when you're developing this lot, and especially with the opposition by the abutters, I believe it will alter and affect the general character of the surrounding area, especially for the abutters. And I also believe that it will impair the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. I mean, the bottom line is there's the totality of it is very questionable about the purpose and intent of the development. Also, some of the testing that's been done and some of the immediate issues that have been raised by several of the folks testifying about water issues. And I'm just not even there to even talk about minimum relief here about variances.
I have a question for John B. How open are you to actually digging in to see if there's alternate locations, or coming at least to this board why there is not alternate locations for the septic system to be mounted? It looks like it's far leveler ground on the left-hand side of the home. Where's your feeling about looking at alternate locations to try to get to the least relief necessary?
At the end of the day, I am open to them. We have when this opportunity came to me, it's a proposed approved septic system. That's why I'm going with this. This is step number one. It's step number one, but this is what's approved. So that's the reason for where it is.
So part of why I'm asking the question is you can hear that there's some concern from the board. And when we come out of recess with sort of a motion to be vetted on, it may go down a path that gives you setbacks that you may not want to live with. Do you want to take on your own just to take a little bit of time and come back to the board with at least, maybe some testimony of why or why the septic has to remain here, and that this is actually the least relief necessary?
So you're saying take a break and rethink the lot, and then we deal with that now, or?
Yeah.
Well, so essentially, I think what Manny is offering you is that you see kind of the temperature of the board and the concerns that they're raising, and rather than having your request denied, if you would like, we would give you a continuance. So you wouldn't have to re-advertise. We continue this hearing. You could, we could figure out how much time you needed, but you could talk to our planner, but work with whoever you have who's doing the engineering to see if there is a possibility for you to move it so that it would not be so close to the lot line. And potentially, if you wanted to, my assumption is if you're going to do it for that, you may also want to do it for the placement of the house, because it seems like there are also some concerns, so that when you came back to the board, A, you could come back and say, I've listened to your concerns and I was able to tweak it this way. Or B, I listened to your concerns, I talked to my engineer, I talked to my architect, but it's just absolutely not possible. And so one way or the other, you've kind of either met their expectations, or you have further, you have actual testimony or actual expert proof that there's absolutely no other way to do what you want to do on this lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely have to, I would definitely have to look into it. I mean, I'm open to it, yes.
I think what we're asking is if you'd like to take on that action proactively and request us for a continuation, and it would go a long way. You have a bunch of members in the audience that brought up some major concerns. It's weighing heavy on how we articulate a motion to move forward. And if you proactively did that and could actually do some of this work or bring in professional testimony potentially on why it can't be done, that would go a long way.
Because technically we can't order you to do that. We can take a vote and deny it, or you can say, hey, I'd like some time so I can come back and meet your concerns.
Sure, is that,
John, before you go any further, is this a two-story house you're looking at here? If I request it correct, it said two-story house.
right. These are yeah.
So this is a very big house for this lot. I mean, you're looking at the average house is 25 by 30 and it's 2 stories high. This one is 28 by 58, which is a massive, that's a big house for this size lot, even for a 4-bedroom, especially a 2-story. Maybe you should think about reconfiguring the home as well, and that could give you a lot more space.
Yeah.
Compared to where it sits now.
Well, the depth of the house, you know, is only the 28. And that's kind of the main factor here. You know, 47 feet off the road. The backyard wouldn't be too big either. I mean, so it's just, you know, with the kids and stuff, that's, you know, but you know,
still could move this house forward, and even if it was a little bit smaller, it's still a 2-story. You could still have 4 bedrooms and bring the house forward to the road. And there are some issues here. I can understand what some of the people are talking about, but
and I think we're just asking you, John B. Sorry, John F. We're just going to continue the discussion the way we're going. We'll take a question in a minute, but John B. You know, just offering the thought, if you would like to proactively, you know, ask for continuation versus us to keep going down this path.
Yeah, you know, I'm not looking to, you know, I mean, who would want to, you know, make everybody around you mad and then come move in? I'm not, that wouldn't be, you know, ideal situation.
Okay, so you are requesting a continuation?
Yes.
Okay, and would you need more time than our next meeting, which I believe is February 9th, or would you like us to move it to the one after February and do March?
Why don't we write down why don't we get us in for the February 9th?
All right, so because I honestly, it's going to depend on your professionals. So I think we'll schedule it for February with the understanding that if you need March or, you know, whatever, you can just simply give Mike a call, send an email, and they'll continue it. You wouldn't have to come in.
And I would say it's, you know, any professional you engage, it's probably likely that we're actually looking at the March date, just to be realistic about it. But we can certainly reschedule for February, put it on the agenda, and, you know, let people know. I'll take down as many names and emails tonight, but obviously with the understanding that it'll get posted on the agenda, and it may get continued again to March.
Yeah, we really just hope you take the advantage of this as well to go and get some more information. So, Joanna, do we come out of recess for the continuation?
Yeah, you make a motion.
Okay, I'm gonna come out of recess for one of us to make a motion on that regard. Okay, so we've closed recess.
So somebody would make a motion to continue the public hearing on this application to the February 9th meeting.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second,
Who was that?
Tim.
Tim, thank you.
All in favor, right, Bob?
Yes. Sorry.
All in favor?
No worries.
Okay, roll.
You know, oh yeah, we gotta do the roll.
Do a roll.
So we're back to it.
Yeah. Manny Lenars,
Aye. Let's
James-
just go at the end, Bob, in the future.
I know you're at the end, I'm sorry. James Finnegan,
I'm not clear on if it's clear as the purpose of the continuation, if it's clear that it's about both the setback of the physical building as well as septic, that it's both?
It is the
Not
public
just-
hearing for both applications, yes,
Both of the variance requirements, correct?
yes.
Correct.
Okay, then it's aye, yes.
Jonathan Hayter,
Aye.
Timothy,
Aye.
and Bob Morrow, aye. Michelle,
Aye.
and it's unanimous.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you all for the attendance and testimony. Thank you, Jonathan B, for the continuation. And I believe our next item up has actually also asked for continuation. Michael, again, is that correct?
Yes, 37 Mill Road, the appeal filed on that. I got an email from their legal representation today requesting a continuance also to the February 9th meeting. I informed them that they will need to, because of this is now the second continuation for them, they will need to re-advertise and re-notice as a result of that.
Right,
Okay,
and
so
I'll note for the record that next item was an appeal, and it was an appeal of a notice of violation issued by the zoning official, and the appeal was filed in October. So technically, when you file one of these appeals, the violation is held in abeyance. So by continuing, I believe there were some health COVID issues, which, you know, we can't help in this climate. But just so the board is aware, I think it is necessary that we do keep it on for February because the violation continues without the fines accruing, without the person ceasing and desisting, because we're in this little abeyance area. So
Okay. And Joanna, do we need to make a motion?
I would make a motion, yes. Just make a motion to accept their request. So we would make a motion to accept the applicant's or the appellant's request to continue the appeal hearing with re-advertising and re-notice to abutters. Anybody? So
Well, but hold on, let's be clear here, though. We have to take a motion to approve the continuance. Correct? We can deny the continuance
you technically can, yes.
because what you're saying is since October, no fines have been accruing every day for $100 a day. And now what they've been doing is extending this out.
Now, so no fines have been accruing as of yet. However, if you deny the appeal, fines will date back to the October date.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. So in a way, we're not losing it. We can claw it back.
We can claw it back. What we're losing or what my concern is that we can't do anything else to make them stop doing what they're doing because we're in this kind of limbo. That's more, it's enforcement minded that my concern is.
But the board can just not for the motion, just say can deny it if they have the votes.
The motion to continue?
Correct.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I will say there were COVID issues. So if they ever tried to appeal that denial, they probably, you know, it ended up back with us anyways. But I think with the understanding that Mike and I would return with, yes, we granted your continuance, but this is the last, you know, we're not accepting more.
Can we modify our motion to say this is our final continuance?
Sure.
But I guess so. I'll ask Michael and you, Joanna. Your recommendation to the board is give them one more
My recommendation to the board, because of the COVID climate, I mean,
Okay.
if it was something different, I would feel differently, but because of COVID and the inconsistencies and all, God forbid, all the stuff that happens, yes, my
Understood.
recommendation is for this time.
Okay, so
But
Manny,
no-
I like your,
no
I
more.
like your amended motion. That's a good one. I think that's a good one.
Nobody seconded the motion, right?
No,
Nope,
not
yeah,
yet.
no,
So
no one-
we'll withdraw it. New motion will be made that we will grant the applicant's request for a continuance of the appeal on the condition that there will be no further continuances, and they will have to re-advertise and re-notice abutters.
I think I saw Bob Moreau's lips say so moved.
Second.
He's still on-
Bob's on mute. Bob, you're on mute.
I saw him.
You're lip reading.
So moved.
We have a second.
Yes, second.
Thank you.
Can we do a roll call, Bob?
We did. Okay. James Finnegan,
Aye.
Jonathan Hayter,
Aye.
Timothy Denafelsher,
Aye.
Michelle Ziemba,
Aye.
Bob Morrow, aye. Manny Lenaz.
Aye. We all get different last names tonight. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, if the board will make a motion to approve the minutes as reviewed. Anyone on the board interested to make that motion?
And Jim, I did revise
this.
those minutes per your comments, so everybody has the same updated minutes you should be looking at.
Yeah, so I'll make the motion since I've reviewed the minutes and there was some corrections made, so they look good to me now, so I will make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, James Finnegan,
Aye.
Jonathan Hayter,
Aye.
Timothy,
Aye.
Michelle,
Aye.
Bob Morrow, aye. Manny Lenaz.
Aye, and thank you, Bob. This has been a lot of work tonight. Thank you. I appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Bob.
So hearing nothing else and seeing nothing on the agenda, anyone interested in making a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see you next month. And I think it will be completely virtual, right? Mike, you're not going to be.
Well, I don't know as of yet because unless
It's supposed to expire, but I don't think it will.
yeah, it expired. It expires February 4th, I think it is, which is right before the next meeting. So
Right.
hopefully it gets extended so we can do fully remote next time.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
Thank
everybody
you.
knows.
Everyone,
Okay.
Michael,
Thanks.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.